All right, like last time, I wanted to try and do this video in one take, but I had to go blow my nose, so in all honesty, this is the second take. But we're gonna do this second take just like before, where everything is done with no edits other than occasionally cutting to the second camera. With today's work, I was working on the outline for the rewrite. And with each bullet point, I'm shooting for about 40. With each bullet point, I was writing down in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 sentences per scene or sequence, whatever you want to call it. I find myself gravitating towards a pen and paper for these type of creative exercises. For me, I was born in a generation where we grew up writing out our papers with either a pencil or pen or a typewriter. Yeah, I'm getting kind of old, about to turn 45 this month. But I'm 44 still for a few more days. So I grew up writing with a typewriter, learned a typewriter when I was a kid, and then it wasn't until later on in high school that I started to use a computer to type my papers. So I'm part of what's called the Oregon Trail generation, and if you know what the Oregon Trail game is, this game that you played in high school and middle school, well, then you're familiar with it and you're probably part of that generation. But to get back on track, today I've been working on the outline and I've been using a pen and paper and then transferring that to a computer, which seems like a long way to do it, and it kind of is, but it works for me. I can get creative with the pen and paper. I don't have a cursor blinking in my face. And then when I transfer it to the computer, I usually make it better. And I can't really take a pen and paper and send that over to a producer like Rocco up in New Jersey. I can't send that up to him. I have to get it in a digital format to send it his way to review and give me feedback. So it seems like the long way, the hard way, and it kind of is. But to me, it's worth it. I get a better outline. I get to be more all over the place with this outline. I get to be like a little kid and say, I wonder if this happened in the next scene. And wait a minute, let's back up. Let's go to the previous scene and stick this in the middle there. I know you can do that on a computer, but I have more fun doing it with a pad of paper and a pen. It's just, it's the way my brain works. It's the way I'm wired. I'm caught between analog and digital, and that's fine. You gotta find your creative flow that works for you, and that's the flow that works for me. As far as progress on the movie, I'm about 13 or 14 bullet points into the film, so probably about a third of the way into the outline, which is a good place to be. It's where I wanted to get this morning. I didn't have any specific goal. I think specific goals are important, but this morning I didn't. And all honesty, there's another catchphrase I can't stand because you should be honest all the time. But I got about a third of the way into the film and I'm happy with the way it's going. I made a few notes on where I could go the rest of the movie. And I also thought about, well, what is the ending that I want to get to? And really, and the most important thing is, where do my characters want to end up? What's their ending? Because I know I made up the characters, but they have a mind of their own at this point, now that I've given them a backstory. What do they want as people or characters to end up with at the end of the film? Or what do they need by the end of the film? And that's something that they may not want necessarily at the beginning, but at the end, they realize this is what they really need. And I need to know what that end point is, or at least a guess at what that end point is going into this, so that as I weave the outline, sorry, I couldn't come up with that word, just wasn't coming to my brain. As I weave the outline, then I know the direction I'm headed. I know where I'm headed, and I can weave that around to where it eventually gets to that ending. And I think that's you need to know where you're going. You don't just head out on a destination not knowing where you're going. But it is fun to head off in different directions and take some detours along the way. So for me, that's the process that works. And that's what I seem to be talking about today. digital versus analog and process. You have to find your process with anything that you do. And that's going to vary from person to person. And the way to find that is to just test out various ideas. If you think a pen and paper would help you, try it out. See if it works. Try it out a few times. If it doesn't, then maybe that's not your thing. If a computer that dies in the middle of your video is the thing that works for you, stick with the computer. But for me, most of the time, a blinking cursor is not what works for me. Now later on, when I'm typing the script, I abandon the pad of paper because I get into the flow when I'm staring at a screen and just firing off lines and action and all that sort of thing. For me, that's where the computer is really the only place where I work. I ditch the pad of paper. But yeah, I live in that, I'm from that Oregon Trail generation. So yeah, we're kind of a weird generation that doesn't fit into any real category. I was born in 79, so yeah, I'm not a 70s kid really. I'm not an 80s kid either. I don't know. Maybe you'll decide what I am by pointing it out in the comments. Leave a comment like they say in every YouTube video. I appreciate the comments so far. They've been encouraging, and I look forward to updating you tomorrow on where this movie is going. I imagine we'll do more bullet points with the outline. Thanks for watching.